of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Casey, can you, a moment of silence, please?
Let us take a moment to thank our Creator for all the wonderful things that He has given us in our lives, for the wonderful people that we know, the people that we work with, and for giving us a wonderful place in which to live. Las Vegas is an amazing place. And let us thank Him also for all the good things, our happiness, the people that love us, and even the people that don't love us, who challenge us and make us take a better look at things and do things in a better way. Ask our Creator to give us the strength and the ability to serve the community to the best of our knowledge and ability, and that we always keep the focus and our number one priority, that it always be the people that we serve.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor Howell,
Yes. Next item.
and councilors, before we get started on the agenda, we would like to take this time to welcome Ms. Cassandra Frescas back as city clerk. She has been working hard.
And,
We look forward to moving forward.
yes, and also, if I may, we'd like to thank Ms. Danielle Sena for doing an outstanding job in the Next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda, Councilor Mayor Pro Tem Howell, councilors, approval of the agenda. Is the approval of the agenda.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board? I just have one question on the agenda. Is I know there's been some concern as far as the open meetings on the agenda. Is everything okay with the agenda the way it has presented?
Mayor, councilors, yes.
Is there a question for that?
There was, but I don't know the details as to what the specifics are.
Okay.
Just making sure it was reviewed.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Need a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and second. Roll call?
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Motion does carry.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, Mayor Pro Tem, is appointments. And our first appointment is appointment of the mayor, and I will turn that over to councilors.
Thank you. It's a pleasure of the council.
I'm going in order here. Mr. Pro Tem, Councilor Howell has served on this council for 8 years. And in my opinion, I think he has done a commendable job. And before I was on the council, although I don't live in Ward 2, I would go to Councilor Howell because he was always willing to listen. And not only listen, but to address issues that I brought to him regarding things that were of concern to me with entities that were nonprofit entities in the city with whom I was working. And so he was always very attentive and willing to help. And that doesn't always happen. And in working with him on the council, now that I'm here, I've learned that he listens and he pays attention to what people tell him. And therefore, it is my pleasure and my honor to nominate him to be our mayor for the remainder of the former mayor's term.
Second.
Roll call? Yes?
Yes. Councilor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Motion does carry.
He doesn't
Thank
get to
you.
vote for himself?
Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to ask Judge Baca, our district court judge. Where's Judge?
Why don't you come down here and sworn in?
What do you want to do, right here?
Yeah.
I'll borrow your glasses. I have some here. I checked a minute ago.
Yes, pass your side.
Okay. So, here. You have someone who want to hold the Bible for you?
I'll hold the Bible.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll...
This is my dear friend Christine.
Okay. And so, why don't we have, you're going to have to raise your right hand, so your left hand will have to be on the Bible. And before I do this, I do want to thank Mayor Howell for asking me. I've known Vince for a very long time, and he's always been a very honorable man, very honest, forthright, and hardworking. And I don't think there's anybody who's as honest and forthright as Vince. And we actually shared some office space prior to him and I going our separate ways. And so I just am honored to be here today to do this and swear him in. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Vincent Howell,
I, Vincent Howell,
having been elected
having been elected
to the office of mayor
to the office of mayor
of the city of Las Vegas,
of the city of Las Vegas,
of San Miguel County,
of San Miguel County,
in the state of New Mexico,
in the state of New Mexico,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold
I will uphold
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the state of New Mexico,
of the state of New Mexico,
and charter
and charter
of the city of Las Vegas,
and the city of Las Vegas,
and will faithfully
and will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of said office
of said office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have you sign. You have a pen? Very good. You will sign right there. This rest of it will just right there.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Let me get
The next item and the next appointment will be the counselor position by Mayor Howell, and I will turn that over to you.
Thank you. This guy goes, thank you. I'd like to nominate, I have to nominate as a representative for my seat, as now I am the mayor. I'd like to take a moment to nominate Mr. Mark Seiss, and a little bit about Mark. Mark Seiss was born in Santa Fe in 1951, same year as I did. That's pretty good. He graduated from Espanola High School in 1968. He married Eileen in 1975. He is father of two sons, Jake and John, and one daughter, Rachel. He moved to Las Vegas in 1995. He retired from the food service industry in 2018. He is a pastor at the Cornerstone Church on 7th Street here in Las Vegas. And he is on the board of directors of 2 nonprofits in Las Vegas. And at this time, I'd like to nominate Mr. Mark Seiss to sit on Ward 2 seat. And now it's up to the approval of the council, so. What, do we need a motion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. What nonprofits do you work with?
Somos Familia, and also with the Samaritan House.
Oh, okay, thank you. Counselor.
Oh,
I have a question.
yes.
I'm a little concerned about this, putting this man on the seat, because we're down to our elections, and our elections, we're gonna have 2 more meetings to finish with this council.
Right.
Okay, 2 meetings, you know. There's 6 people running for mayor,
Mhm.
3 people running for city council, and 1 unopposed.
Right,
You know, this man's only gonna be here for 2 meetings,
that's correct.
okay?
Right.
And it's kind of obvious, you know, because, you know, we're here, we're almost finished with our term, with the term here. And the thing is that just to sit this man on this seat for just 2 meetings, you know, I don't think we're gonna get anything accomplished with that, because it depends what they give us in the agendas,
Mhm.
you know, so, you know, that's what my concern is.
I see. And he's well aware of the time that he's going to sit on the seat. And I believe that I'm supposed to appoint someone. Is that correct, Ms. Gallegos?
That is my understanding. I'll defer to the city attorney.
There is a provision in the charter, Mr. Mayor, councilors, that within 15 days of the vacancy, a qualified elector from the district must fill the vacancy.
Does that solve your concern, or?
I don't see why put somebody for 2 meetings only. It's gonna take taxpayers' money, you know, to give him insurance, to pay his wages, you know, just for 2 meetings. Look at all the work the city's gonna have to put up, and what's real, you know, that's what I'm concerned.
I think that when the new administration comes in, they really have to take a look at the charter to make some adjustments on the charter, to review the charter.
We've been trying to look at the charter for the past 4 years that we've been here,
Right.
and nothing has been changed, nothing. And it goes back to our city clerk. Nothing's been changed. You know, so now we're coming back to a new administration, whatever happens to this administration. We are gonna have to look at the charter, you know, because there's a lot of things wrong with the
That's true.
charter.
And I believe the charter committee was struggling in meeting to address the charter. So-
It's been struggling for some time, I know that. But we don't get anything done, we don't get nothing done on the charter, to straighten it out to, you know.
So I believe that new administration, when they come in, will be addressing that.
Well, hopefully we do.
Yeah.
Councilor.
Councilor,
If I can, and again, you know, no disrespect, you know, to Mr. Seiss, I don't know him, and I know, you know, you set the agenda for the appointment of council, which is required by the charter. I too have concern as to the time that we have in between, you know, when the next council comes in, and I'm just gonna ask this, because as we know, I think today was the deadline for write-in candidates, or yesterday?
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
And of course, I'm just, you know, this is what, I'm just giving you my thinking as to, was Mr. Montoya, being that he's the only, basically candidate for Ward 2, was he taken into consideration, or, and the reason why there's so much work that needs to be done before the new mayor and council take place. And the way I see it is, I think, of course, it's you know, you get to put the name up, and I'm just, you know, giving you my 2 cents. Is I think that in order for us to move forward, you know, I think Mr. Montoya would probably be the proper, because, you know, he'd have 2 months and then he'd start his term, and he don't have no opponent, and we wouldn't have that gap in between, Mr. Size and Mr. Montoya when they come in. We'd have that continuity in your ward, which is Ward 2, that, he has that experience. We all know when you first come in, it's a shock, it's like a shock as to everything that has to be done. And in order, I think we're in the place where we need to move forward immediately. And I respect your appointment and the person that you presented to us tonight. My thing would be, Mr. Montoya would be the perfect fit. I've never worked with him, but I just think in order to move forward right away, was he an option, I guess?
He was an option before he became a candidate, because we talked, and he became a candidate, so I thought that it might have been conflict of interest of being a candidate and also sitting on the seat.
But now that there's no write-in candidate or anything, he's in.
At that time, I didn't know. Councilor Casey?
I would like to ask our legal counsel here, is it legal for someone who is on the ballot to take office before they are actually elected in the election?
There is, Mayor, members of the council, we don't have a provision in the charter that disallows it. I did call Municipal League and talk to their general counsel as well, and he stated there is no provision that they could not take the seat.
Is there anything in the municipal code?
No.
Okay, so it's not addressed at all?
No.
So then technically, anyone who's on the ballot, and if, let's say that, I leave Las Vegas all of a sudden tomorrow, then whoever is running, I can pick somebody that is running my position?
Mayor, councilors, there is no provision that you could not.
I have a question. I think it would have been better for him to be on the ballot. That way you could vote him in, put him in the seat. Not two people run for that ward. Since he's not in the ballot, and you want to put him in for 2 more meetings. What I'm looking at is the cost of the city. Insurance, his pay for 2 meetings. That's what I'm looking at. To me, it's kind of not good. It doesn't seem to me, I don't feel real good about that. Because it's just for 2 meetings, I could have seen if he would be in the ballot. It would be nice.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, and I respect, and like I said, I know you had sent me the bio of Mr. Seiss. At this point, I'd like to make a motion to table this, because I'd like to, get to know him a little bit more, if possible. And then at that point, then we can make that decision at the next meeting, I guess. That would be okay?
Well, our next meeting is a work session meeting, so we're really not able to vote on in that meeting.
I think we're going to have a special meeting for water, right?
Mr. Mayor, a tabling motion is non-debatable, so we can't talk about it, just vote on it.
Mm-hmm.
So make the motion to table?
Yep. Roll call?
Second?
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Romero, a second by Councilor Ulibarri Jr. to table. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
The appointment is tabled.
Tabled.
Mr. Seiss, I apologize for that. And, we'll speak a little bit later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Howell, councilors. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for December 11th special, December 11th work session, and December 18th, 2019. Sorry.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move approval of the minutes for December 11th special meeting, December 11th work session, and the December 18th regular session with minor amendments that were corrected.
Second?
Roll call?
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion does carry.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda?
The next item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, is mayor's appointments. The first one, the only one, is the largest tax board member appointments. And I'll turn that over to you, Mayor.
Thank you, thank you. First, let me ask, is Shauna Sandoval here? How about Georgina Ortega Angel? And Gabe Garcia? All right, it's my pleasure to recommend to the appointment of, to the largest tax board, 3 new members. And that would be Shauna Sandoval. She's the owner of, operator of the Skillet. And Georgina Ortega Angel. She's a community member at large. And Gabe Garcia, owner or operator of the Abraham's Tiendita. Do you have any questions on the council?
I did get, Mr. Mayor, some emails with concerns that the, these were from people who had applied for the at-large position.
Mhm.
And their question to me was, why is Mr. Howell, at that time, appointing people who were selected by the former mayor, and why have you not selected your own?
Well, one main reason is the persons that I had mentioned had already signed an acceptance letter to be appointed to the largest tax. And that was done on, let's see, said I accept the appointment on January 6th. That's the reason because they were already communicated to and accepted, and so I didn't want to let them not do it, because they accepted the position. Yes.
Just these appointments only last till the next administration, am I right? Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that.
I'm sure the new administration mayor would have the autonomy to appoint largest tax
I
board.
just wanted to make sure you clarify that that's what it is.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, council, I believe that's done under the reorganization as well.
With that, I make the motion to approve your recommendations.
Second?
Roll call?
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, is mayor's recognitions and proclamations.
I think I'd like to recognize again, to welcome Cassandra back. Appreciate you, Cassandra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. And also to recognize again Danielle for doing an excellent job in your absence.
I agree.
So appreciate all you did, Danielle. So, thank you. Next
Thank you.
item on the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item is public input. First person is Mr. Arthur Ray Gallegos, a Acequia sharing agreement. Mr. Gallegos.
Thank you for allowing me to speak to you again.
Mr. Gallegos?
Good evening,
Hello.
Mr. Gallegos.
Huh?
Good evening.
My,
Good evening.
good evening. My reason for being here is to give you an update since our last meeting, and that we had a teleconference hearing with the judge regarding the remand. And his tone was very clear that he wanted the city and the Acequias to come to a water sharing agreement. And that he directed us and your designees to meet and create a framework for a water sharing agreement. One thing that was discussed is to keep the attorneys out of it, because prior history and behavior clearly shows that we had come to an agreement and a consensus and once the attorneys get a hold of it, it's just completely destroyed. And it's just, you have to start all over again, and it would appear, real or imagined, that the goal was never to get an agreement, just to keep the billable hours and the conflict going. Because there's certain people involved that continue and have profited from keeping the litigation going over all these years. There's a saying that's thrown around these days about speaking truth to power. Well, the reality is that we've been sending water to Story Lake in a series of lease agreements, storage agreements, that have evaporation clauses in them so that they are compelled to be renewed over and over again at millions of taxpayer dollars expense. The reality is once that water's in the lake, it goes to Story Project water users, and they have a lower priority. And those gates have been vandalized and welded open so that you cannot regulate the water. So any water that goes to Story Lake under the premise of storage is ridiculous. That water's going to circumvent the priority of the water users from Story Project. And I don't think any rational mind over the years can say that there hasn't been a certain amount of collusion between the previous administration and the water users in terms of keeping the failure aspect to coming to an agreement all these years. I've been involved in this since my childhood, and I can see the players and I can see the outcomes. And I think it's very tragic that our tax dollars are being misappropriated and then given to Story Project water users that pay for legal fees for attorneys for Albuquerque to oppress the acequias and the organic farming in our community. And they're using our own tax dollars in order to do that and circumvent the seniority on the Water Users Association.
3 minutes.
The truth of the matter is that we have had millions and a series of water agreements, and we've never used the water or needed the water. So I think we should seize the time and the personalities that are involved now, and with all deliberate speed, bring this to a close for the betterment of everybody. I reiterate again that I urge you to see how much money has been spent in legal fees and in water lease agreements that we've never used over the years. I think it's created harm to the community and to the agricultural economy. And the malfeasance, I think, pales in comparison to what our current mayor is accused of. I'm not for or against the situation, but in dollars and harm, I think what the previous administrations have done to keep this water litigation going has harmed the community far more than I think people realize. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Guy.
For letting me
Thanks for
go.
your input.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next person on the public input is Lee Einer, Mr. Lee Einer, Regulatory Compliance.
Good evening, Mr. Miner.
Mayor, City Council, it's good to be here. I hope to keep this to 3 minutes. I'm going to try. I'll talk fast, but what I have to say I believe is important. We both made the papers today, and I don't want to be doing that for the next 2 years. It's ironic that we're talking about the city charter. We do need to take a look at it, and I would say we need to take a look at it, commit it to memory, abide by it, and then see how it works, because we have not thus far. We have issues as a city government, not only with compliance with the charter, but in some cases compliance with state law, and in some cases even, I believe, compliance with the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. So this becomes a problem. Government is an emanation of law. It's an embodiment of law. And when an enterprise becomes something else, when it has an outward appearance of legitimacy and does not follow the law, that's what we call a racket. And we've been kind of embroiled in a racket here for a while. And I want to help you fix it. I'm going to jump to the end, and then we'll work back to the beginning. And the end of that, the thing that is key to helping us turn this around, in the city charter, we have an ethics and conflict of interest and campaign chapter. And one of the things that is required, it's mandatory, that we haven't done over the 10 years that the charter has been in effect, is to enact ordinances with fines attached, implementing those ethical standards, conflict of interest standards, campaign standards. It's crucial because we have a campaign and ethics board to which our employees should have been able to go all along and say, please, there's something smelly here, investigate it, and don't let them beat me down. But that can't happen because that board, in order to be effective, has to have those ordinances in place. So there is something for it to investigate, and so there is something for it to enforce. And those ordinances have never been enacted, and it looks, I'm not trying to personalize, but it looks terribly bad on all concerned when public officials won't enact the ordinances that would hold them to a standard of ethical conduct. But that's where we are right now. Okay, I said that. Please do that. An election's coming up. I'm sure everybody wants to preserve their credibility, and if you don't enact these ordinances, at least get them on the agenda so you can talk about them and explore the idea. Man, it looks so bad on you. We have the agenda here, and we're talking about, well, compliance with law, and we have 3 meetings worth of minutes that we approved tonight. And according to the Open Meetings Act, we have 10 days to get draft minutes completed.
Continue.
Okay, thank you. And those minutes have to be approved, denied, or edited at the next meeting, and it does not discriminate as to whether that's a workshop session, a special meeting, or a regular meeting. So the Attorney General recently dinged the city for that, and that's an example. It's right here in our agenda. We have an Open Meetings Act resolution coming up. The Open Meetings Act was amended in 2013 by the Roundhouse to include a requirement for publication of agendas at least 72 hours on our website, and that provision is not included in this resolution as written, and I think that's an omission that needs to be corrected before you ratify that. And I see that we're talking about drug testing. Shortly before I left the city, I personally witnessed non-safety sensitive employees being randomly drug tested. And that is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. When government does that, business can do that, but when government does that, that's illegal search and seizure. And beyond that, I've seen that drug testing policy being used as a cudgel to harass and beat down employees that may have been whistleblowers and employees that may have fallen out of favor. And you can't get your arms around this stuff unless you begin by getting that board functional, by having the ethics ordinances in place. They'll be empowered then to investigate these things. And, I gotta say, bad things happen, we wanna move forward, but bad things don't happen when your checks and balances are in place, because they can't happen when your checks and balances are in place, and we need to get there. Thank you, I appreciate your giving me the time. And if any of you want to talk to me at any other time, give me a call. There's more than I had to say, but I don't want to take the whole evening.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next person on the public input listing is Mr. William Gonzalez on water.
Good evening, Mr. Gonzalez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me some time to do a short presentation to you. I was here last month with the idea of restarting up negotiations between the Acequias and the city. What I'm talking about is a litigation that has gone on for 64 years. 64 years this community has been in litigation trying to show that it owns a senior priority. The senior priority date is very important in water because senior priority is what determines whether you get water or you don't get water whenever there's shortages. Normally the way it goes is they'll shut off a junior user first until the seniors' needs are being met. Well, in the last 60 plus years, a lot has changed in Las Vegas. The agricultural community has almost completely gone away. There's less demand on water than there was before. The city of Las Vegas has grown. The city of Las Vegas has purchased storage at Story Lake. We've made improvements to our intake system. We just rehabbed Bradner Reservoir, and we've made tremendous strides in water conservation in this community. We've used effluent water. So we've really addressed the water issue that existed in this community for many years through many efforts, mainly through litigation. It was that litigation that kept the parties at bay. It was that litigation that allowed this community to continue to over-divert out of priority and to enjoy what was known as a Pueblo water right. Well, in 2004, the Supreme Court overturned that Pueblo water right, and here we are 16 years later trying to figure out a solution. Think about how much money we've spent on litigation in the last 16 years. And better yet, think about how much we've spent in the last 60 years of how much we've spent in litigation. But more importantly, think of what we've done to this community. We have almost torn it apart at the fabric. The Acequias were the first entities that made settlement here possible. But if we look today, we're at best hobby farmers, is what we're considered. And it's a shame because we have an opportunity here in Las Vegas to have a thriving agricultural community that produces local food. Instead of litigating against the very members of this community, perhaps we should be seeking ways to help our Acequias improve and become efficient, just like we helped Story Lake line their canal. I think we would all be much better off if we found a solution to share water. The Acequias have already put you on notice that we will not call seniority if we can reach an agreement. That in itself is one heck of a statement by a senior water user saying, you don't have to worry about us ever trying to stop you from taking water. We understand the community needs water. We need water. We live here in this community. It would be senseless for us to issue a priority call and ask you to stop taking water from the river when we, or the residents, are consuming that water ourselves. As you know, last week we had a session with the judge. We had a court hearing. He gave us till March to negotiate or to find a solution. I don't think we need till March. I think if we sat down as individuals and were able to approach you as individuals, as council members, perhaps in executive session, you could then see, not secondhand, but firsthand, what our commitment is to settling this litigation. I know that we've tried for negotiations for years. We've come this close to finding an answer that works for everybody. Let's not stop at this point. Let's get this done now and not wait any longer for this to happen. 64 years plus is more than enough time. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you.
The next person on the public input is Mr. Gabe Estrada on water. Good evening, Mr. Estrada.
Good evening,
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
I want to personally thank you people for what transpired at the beginning of the meeting. I think this was long coming, and we really appreciate the council approving a new mayor. I think this community is made up of lights, and we're missing a lot of lights that are they're not plugged in, and we thank you for starting to do that. And we thank you for this young lady that we've missed for a long time now, and this is one of those lights that is brighter. I've even got my glasses on to shade the light. Yeah, I just had my eye work done, so don't. Members of the, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I think I see the intents that you have in listening to our elegant people that are still hanging in to agriculture. And I'm sure that we've discussed this many, many times, and you're willing to do what was promised, is to bring this litigation to what our judge told us 2 weeks ago, to its finality. And he used the word twice, to where I think he doesn't want to make the decision that may not fit you or fit the Acequias. I think he wants us to get together like elected officials and bring this to a finality. And I'm sure that if we both agree on sharing our water, our precious water, he would be more than pleased. You know, in 2004, the Supreme Court admitted to a mistake that lasted for 58 years, that they had made a mistake, and they handed it down to the lower court, which is where we're at now, and they placed a special master for almost 2 decades to bring this to a settlement, and there were so many attorneys involved. I think there was a dozen of them. We didn't get it resolved, and the special master reported his findings of what he thought to the judge. Since then, 15, 16 years back, things have changed in the city of Las Vegas. You didn't have Bradner going on. You've almost got it on board. I don't know why the delay is, but I'm sure the engineers know that you can build a dam up that is solidly dry with water that will saturate, and maybe the pressure of the water may tend to damage the dam. But I know you're waiting on that. I've talked to Maria on this before. And since then, those recommendations that the special master made are null and void. You have been operating on Peterson Dam for many, many years. Now you have Peterson Dam. Bradner is almost to come on board. You've still got our precious Gallinas River that you're drawing water from. You've got Story Lake wet water, not just paper water. And you've got space at Story Lake to where what the special master recommended doesn't even come into the play anymore. The glove doesn't fit the hand anymore. And I want to applaud you people for offering now your administrative people to meet with us, like the judge ordered, with a person to negotiate between us, a qualified negotiator to help us come together.
3 minutes.
And we hope and pray that this will happen with your help. The attitude you've shown, we can bring this to a head and say we're no longer in litigation. Now let's divide the water sensibly and have everybody share in what little is left of a long drawn-out legal battle that has just about destroyed agriculture. We don't want that to continue, and we desperately thank you for your cooperation. Thank you. Ms. Frescas, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm one of the ones that would like to put that light on.
Thank you. The next person on public input is Mr. Lalo Sanchez. Comments?
Good evening, Mr. Sanchez.
Hello, Mr.
Good evening,
Sanchez.
Council.
Good evening.
Just the tension here itself has mellowed out so much that it's so comfortable. Welcome back, Cassandra. It's nice to have you back here. First of all, you are not going to get rid of me. I know you all have a lot of problems bigger than mine, but you're not going to get rid of me because I am here. I started this on the utilities department, and I am going to continue on it until it is resolved one way or another. This falsely accusations of water leaks is ridiculous, and I'm going to put an end to it somehow. Crosswalks, you're not going to get rid of me either. That thing has to be done, and I hope that we don't have to go through the incident or the same incident that happened in Las Cruces last year. I think it was the end of either November or the beginning of December where a 12-year-old girl got run over just because she was on a crosswalk, but there was no crosswalks, or she was on an intersection, shall I say, but there was no crosswalks, and the driver ran over her, whether he was drunk or not, I don't remember. But I hope that that doesn't have to happen before we can take action in marking crosswalks where they are really necessary. We need crosswalks all around the city. We need those, and there's no exception to it. I remember at one time back in the days where Las Vegas was named an all-American city. Those were the good old days. Those, I believe, Las Vegas was prospering. It was clean. It was a lot of industry coming in and whatnot. Today, I can't even say that Las Vegas is a city. It's more of a town. We're already branded as the drug city. I remember when back in the 70s when it was named as, what was it? I forget.
Smack City, USA.
Smack City, USA. We have over here now the drug busts that are going terribly wrong. We have corruption that is totally a disgrace. We have corruption in the police department. We have corruption in the district attorney's office. We have corruption within the city, employees itself in different departments to where you can't even talk to your supervisor because you have no idea who you're talking to. You can't complain to him. And it's a shame that employees themselves can't complain to their supervisors because they're afraid of getting either fired or demoted or whatever. I think that is totally ridiculous. Other than that, I just hope that we have a new administration pretty soon, and I hope that everything is going to be better than what we have had in the past ever since I knew this of Henry Sanchez, and this goes back 20 years almost. It's been ridiculous. We haven't had any kind of relaxation or any kind of progress or anything in the city of Las Vegas itself, in the community, because there's nothing but corruption. We need to get rid of all of that, and we hope, and I hope, and I'm sure that the whole community does too, that we can start to progress, bring industry into this community so that we can flourish all over again like it used to be. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Sanchez.
The last person is Ms. Irene Encina.
Good evening, Ms. Encinas.
Good evening, Howell and Council. I come before you tonight to petition you please take into consideration the needed improvements of our city streets. There are many neighborhoods that have many potholes within a not so fairly lit area. Many times residents traveling during nighttime will hit these potholes. with their vehicles, the conditions are not avoidable. The same goes for our business areas of the community. It has become intimidating to travel within our city streets. Too many of us have to deal with unforeseen maintenance of our vehicles due to hardship these deteriorated streets are causing to our vehicles. We understand city crews are doing the best they can, but also realize there is a large vacancy rate of city staff, and funding allocated for such projects need to be applied before our fiscal year ends. Regardless of the circumstances, it has become an unbearable situation for the residents of this community. I plead with you to do whatever is necessary to address this request, be it hiring qualified contractors who specialize in this type of service, hiring more staff, or working a lot closer with appointed department and their funding. Also, before we change board of counselors, this issue cannot wait to get a new board. Process needs to start as soon as possible. The streets of Las Vegas are in dire need of preventive maintenance. Thank you for your consideration of this request. Respectfully, Irene Encinas. Enclosed, you'll find some photos. This is in front of the courthouse, like by the side of the church. You turn into the judicial court. That's right there. That's your first photo. You go down Valencia Street in front of the church. That's the street right in front of the church. New Mexico Highlands University, you go up that street. That's that up there. 8th Street, this is by the hospital, but then you cross 8th Street by that Vegas Village. The holes are, and I'm talking about holes that are at least 4 feet deep. Highlands again. I have a smart car, and when I hit those holes, I feel like I broke my rim. And I'm not pointing fingers at the city, at anybody, but we do need to work on it because we have funding. We get money from CDBG funds, I'm sure. We get from DOT. We get funding. We have money for our streets, for our community. So we need to use our money right. And I hope before we move on, we could start working closer with the department that I'm asking. Not wait till we move on to the next, and they have to pick that up, and then we come again, and just whatever we could do. If we have to work with DOT and help them, collaborate with what we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, what do you think? What's your comments?
I think you had some very good points. I think you had some very good points, and we will definitely address this.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Encinas.
Thank you.
That concludes our public input.
Next item on the agenda?
We don't have any presentations. The next item is the city manager's report, and I'll be very brief. I've requested Cassandra to pass out our legislative requests. We have we did submit our legislative requests to the legislature today. We had Senator Campos sponsor some of our legislation. Thank you, Councilor Casey, for being there. These were just the beginning. These are the projects that we had submitted. There's 5 different projects. Please review them, take a look at them. If you have any other projects that you would like us to submit, we still have till February I believe it's February the 5th to submit any additional projects that you may have. We're still going to contact Representative Salazar as well to be a co-sponsor, and so we'll continue to move on that. We have 3 days that we will be in Santa Fe. That'll be January the 22nd, February the 5th, and February the 17th, that we will be posting some events with in Senator Campos's office as well. We'll get the final report, the final schedule to you very quickly. We would like everybody to be there if we could. I do have the forms if you do want to be a lobbyist. If you prefer to fill out the form, I do have them available, and I'll make those available to you. The committee, which is about 9 or 10 agencies, did meet, and we they had recommended that we do not sponsor the Las Vegas night at La Fonda on February 17th that was previously planned, and so we will not be having Las Vegas night, but we will still have Las Vegas Day on February 17th at the Roundhouse. And so as soon as we move forward and we get more information, we'll certainly forward it over to you.
Any questions? Councilor
I
Romero?
just wanted to add, and I've been in contact with Danny and also with Robert. One of my requests, individual requests, is going to be for that pothole machine. And I'm asking that, you know, I know Ms. Encinas is here, and she gives us these pictures as to all the potholes that are in town. And that's something that I think, you know, I know we have, you know, road repairs on the list, but it's something that I think would be beneficial to every single one of us in our wards. And I think it was 200 and, what am I, Danny? Two? So I think if that's something that we
would be a
could
good
work
project.
towards.
We can, what we'll do is we'll work on the paperwork and then submit for legislative appropriation, and then just see how much we can match on the project. And I believe Mr. Mayor had already requested a demonstration on one of the machines as well.
Right. And that's the same machine we're talking about?
Yes.
Right.
I believe so, yes.
Good. All right. Councilor Casey?
Thank you. Since you didn't mention what the requests were, can I read them real quickly so that
Absolutely.
people know?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Campos reached out to the city and made it very clear that he's very willing to work with us, as is Representative Salazar. So I was very pleased to hear that, and Senator Campos requested that I meet with him and Robert Archuleta, our grant writer and administrator for the city, so that we could review our needs on the ICIP plan, get an update to Senator Campos on what we are doing with the legislative money that we received last year, and to make our requests for this coming legislative session. The first one was $2,673,000 to plan, design, and construct road and drainage improvements on Legion Drive from Grand Avenue to 7th Street. And that includes putting in gas lines and water lines, sewer lines that might be needed. The other one was for $1,360,000 for renovation of the old City Hall on 6th Street across from Gamble's, and that will finish the restoration on that building. It'll restore the roof, new trusses, stone repair, repainting, plumbing, and so on. $1,400,000 for improvements of the water treatment plant, to include the installation of a new supervisory control and data acquisition system. And we really want that to be funded. $110,000 for electrical upgrades to the city of Las Vegas at Plaza Park, so that when we go to enjoy fiestas, you don't have to, you know, be careful where you're stepping so that you don't step on some giant electrical cord and electrocute yourself while you're trying to have fun. And the last one was for $1,500,000. And what we're requesting is $750,000, and that's to repair the road on Hot Springs Boulevard from Mills Avenue to Valencia Street, which takes us almost to the park. And so those are the things that we would like to see done, and hopefully we'll be getting some of that money so that we can move forward with these projects and, you know, utilize our legislative dollars when we get them. So if you are going to Santa Fe during the legislative session, please keep those projects in mind and talk not only to our legislators but to other legislators and ask them to support our requests. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wood?
Thank you, Counselor.
Ms. Carlos, is this the only capital outlay request that we had? This only, we didn't put anything else?
We put in, there was 5 requests, yes, sir.
Right. Well, that's it?
Yes, sir.
That's it? Nothing else?
Unless you have any others, we still have an opportunity to submit, as long as the project is in the ICIP plan,
Yes, ma'am.
then we can submit. So by all means, if you have another project that you want us to take a look at, get a hold of me and we'll take a look at it and then submit the paperwork, the proper paperwork for it.
Okay, I do want to go lobby out there.
Okay.
And I want to sign
The form?
the form.
I
And,
do have the forms available.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And if any of us wants to be a lobbyist, make sure to see city manager.
Or I can put it, I'll also be, I put it in your boxes, or I can send it through your email as well.
That'll work.
Yes. The
Thank
next,
you.
I'm sorry.
Next
The
item on the agenda?
Finance report, we have Ms. Vega.
Good evening, Ms. Vega.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. A finance report. 50% of the year has lapsed. The total revenues collected in the general fund of $5,927,529. GRT is coming in at pretty good levels. What's drawing it down in total revenues somewhat is not all of the property taxes had been collected and forwarded to the city of Las Vegas. Total expenditures, $5,651,545, 44% of total budget expended. The enterprise funds, total billed services, $7,166,547. Total actual expenditures, $7,686,230. The recreation center, total revenues collected in addition to a transfer from the general fund, $281,000. And total expenditures, $322,162. I've also presented the lodger's tax report. Total lodger's tax collected of $253,242, and total expenditures $197,412. And I've also included an actual breakdown of all the vendors that have been paid for your review. Any questions?
Yes. Councilor Casey?
So on the recreation, the revenues are less than the expenditures, so are we, we're in the red?
No.
No?
We're still, no.
No, so we're still okay?
We're still okay.
Okay.
The cash is in the black.
Okay. Okay, so the cash is the $399, I'm sorry, no, the $317? That's budgeted, actual $278,
You need a cash balance.
and then the cash,
Beginning cash balance.
I don't have
You don't have the
the
balance.
cash balance, but it should be right around 100,000.
okay. And I do have 2 questions on checks. One was on page 25. And it's the 3rd item down, the New Mexico Board of Pharmacy. Why do we need a pharmacy license?
That's for the fire department,
The EMT?
the EMT.
Mayor Howell,
EMT's on board.
councilors, we have to obtain that pharmacy license and get inspected annually in order to maintain the EMT license and actually provide medications to our patients.
Okay,
Good?
thank you.
Yes.
And then, I think I have the page number wrong here, but there was a check for $638 to Holcomb Law. Can you tell me what that's for?
She's assisting with payroll issues.
And they're on a,
Union or any HR issues.
okay. And the contract is for how much?
Esther?
I believe it's 20,000.
But we haven't quite
No.
expended that much.
Okay, and then also, since the former mayor had hired the Quinones law firm to represent her at the declaratory judgment action, and he has been paid probably about $22,000, I think, more or less. She is no longer here. She is no longer, well, I don't think she was supposed to hire herself a lawyer on city money in the first place, but now that she is no longer here, that contract needs to be stopped. And so I would like to request at this time that the city manager and the city attorney work together to inform Mr. Quinones that since the mayor is no longer the mayor, that she is not to be represented with city money, and he should not be billing the city for any more services that he provides to her. If she wants to continue his services, she will have to pay for them herself. Can you do that?
Well, she was sued in her capacity as mayor. Yes, she is no longer mayor. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with the suit now.
Nobody is, but she should not be using city money to pay for her attorney.
Correct.
She shouldn't have used it in the first place,
Well-
regardless of whether she was sued as mayor or not. I still think it was very unethical. It may have not been illegal, but it certainly is very unethical, and I think it needs to be stopped.
We'll explore that.
Well, I hope you do more than explore, and I hope that you actually stop the contract.
Mayor, council, it's just like, if any city official is sued in their capacity, when they're no longer here, whether it's municipal league or the self-insurance fund continues to represent them, even though they're no longer here. I'm not sure that's the case here. But I'll take a look at the case. I haven't been privy to any of the documents that have been filed, and I'm not sure about the result of December's court hearing either, but I'll look at that.
The district judge ruled, denied the mayor's attorney's request to dismiss the judgment. And so the case is still alive, but I really think it's wrong to have city money pay for someone who's no longer affiliated with the city to have legal counsel.
How soon, if I may, how soon could we find out about that?
I'll take a look at it, and by the next council meeting, I'll report back.
Can you do it any sooner than that? Because that's a whole month away. And in the meantime, Mr. Quinones is chalking up, hours and expenses that I think sometimes are, in my opinion, inflated by the number of motions that he filed that the judge totally dismissed. Anyway, I would hate to see us build and using taxpayer dollars to pay for work that he's doing when he shouldn't be doing that at all.
Yes, I'll take a look at it.
So if I may, are you saying that the municipal league self-insured funds would be the legal people that is helping the mayor?
No, not in this case. I'm just saying,
Okay.
in a case where someone is sued in their official capacity, in some kind of civil lawsuit, and municipal league does appoint an attorney or hires an attorney to represent that person, that continues even when they are no longer here. because they were sued in their official capacity, not
The munis-
personally.
The municipal league did not hire Mr.
No.
Quinones,
No, he didn't, they did
She
not.
chose to hire him on her own.
Correct.
So that's what I'm disputing. Councilor, do you have anything to add?
No, I agree on that as far as, you know, she's not the mayor no more, but if that's something you have to look at, let us know as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Or I guess, Mayor, if you could be on top of that.
Right.
Yes, sir.
We'll let everybody know. Thank you. Councilor, no comments?
Thank you, I have no other questions on the finance.
Thank you, Ms. Vega.
Thank you, Ms. Vega.
Next item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, is the consent agenda items.
It's the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just had one question pertaining to, and I think at this time, if we wanted to, we could remove an item
Yes.
in order so we could discuss one of the items that are in consent right now. Is that
Correct.
the right way? Then I make a motion to remove an item to a business, remove resolution 20-01 open meetings resolution to the business items. Just to discuss a concern that Leanne brought up that I just wanna.
I see.
Because we can't discuss that item right now, am I correct? If it's on consent right now?
Right.
We have
Yes,
to
sir.
have it.
So if I
Remove it.
You
and
can
put it on
remove, you can
business.
have it
Yes.
removed, and we'll put it in the business item.
Okay.
We need a second to the motion.
I'll make a motion for that.
Second.
Any other discussions for that? So the motion is repeated, please.
Motion is to remove resolution 20-01 open meetings resolution from consent agenda to business items, to new business item.
And which consent item is it? Which one?
The first one.
The
First
first one, right? Okay. There's a motion and a second, roll call?
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
With the conclusion of that, I make a motion to adopt the consent items.
With the amendment of, with the one removed.
Yes.
Yes.
And that they be read into the record properly.
Certainly.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussions on that? If not, roll call?
I'll
No,
take
he
this,
has to
I'll
read
take
the
this
Well,
consent
yeah,
agenda first.
right.
to read it
I'm
into
sorry.
the record, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
The consent agenda consists of the following items. Item 2, approval of resolution number 20-02, repealing and replacing all previous resolutions and adopting an updated Meadow City Express zero tolerance drug and alcohol testing policy. Item 3, approval of out-of-state travel to Westminster, Colorado. And item 4, approval for the Las Vegas City Police Department to accept funding in the amount of $22,420 from the New Mexico Department of Transportation Traffic Safety Bureau. I'll go ahead and roll call.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda?
The first item on the agenda is approval of resolution 20-01, open meetings resolution.
On that, but,
Go ahead.
on that item,
We've
Mr. Reiner brought up the point that the resolution does not include the, being on the website for 72 hours. Is that,
That's what he mentioned, yes.
yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Councilors, if you'll
Yes.
give me just one moment. This
It
is
doesn't-
consent, so I can find that really quickly. Okay.
Or is that something that maybe we could table and maybe Madam Attorney could look into those just before we approve that, or?
It is on.
Just give us a moment, we might be able to address
Okay.
it.
This resolution was also from last year too, correct? So it was never listed as having to have 72 hours?
Wait,
For the
just-
website.
Mr. Mayor,
For the website.
if I can address that,
Yes.
councilors. So if you look at the first page of resolution number 20-01, this seems to be the same resolution that was from the prior year.
Right.
And if you look at number 1, under the regular business meeting, and I'll go ahead and read it. Pursuant to section 14-7A of the municipal code, all regular business meetings of the Las Vegas City Council shall be held on the third Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. at the City Council Chamber, 1700 North Grand Avenue, Las Vegas, New Mexico. The agenda will be available at least 72 hours prior to the meetings from the city clerk, whose office is located at George Ariana's Municipal Complex. And then it goes on to talk about the notice, and that it should be telephoned, emailed, or faxed to broadcast stations and the newspaper.
I think the concern was that it wasn't on the website, is
That
that
it-
correct?
Yeah, that, according to what he said, is that it's not in here that we place it on the website, which I think there is. Now that he brought that up.
We do place it on the website, absolutely.
Could we just add the language here where
We
it be
can.
placed? Would that be something?
Mayor, members of the council, the actual law reads that, and I'm quoting from the Open Meetings Act, that except in the case of an emergency or in the case of a public body that ordinarily meets more frequently than once per week, at least 72 hours prior to the meeting, the agenda shall be made available to the public and posted on the public body's website. So if we do make that change,
So right now it doesn't mention the website. It's
Correct.
basically what I'm-
So
So
we
can
have
we
to
just
add
add
that
that
in.
language?
Yes, we'll do that.
With the addition of the language.
yes.
So we can,
So we can call for the approval of resolution
Right.
20-01,
With the
open
amendment.
meetings resolution with the amended, with the
Language
change.
change.
what say you, board?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution 20-01, open meetings resolution with the additional language specifying that it will be posted 72 hours prior to the meeting on the city website.
Second?
Second?
Any discussions?
No.
Any discussions? Any more? Roll call, please.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Next item?
The next item on the agenda is the approval, disapproval of the purchase of the 2015 Elgin Pelican sweeper. We have Mr. Danny Gurria.
Madam
Good
Mayor,
evening, Dan.
council members,
Good evening,
here to seek the approval of our Elgin sweeper. It's been 5 years, and it's as per council's requested, I bring it to you guys. Now in February, it's a balloon payment of $33,000, and it'll belong to the city. So I stand for any questions.
Any questions? Counselor Romero?
We have the money.
This was previously approved by mayor and council. It was previously approved in the budget process, and I believe that this was discussed in the payout, and so we're just bringing it back to council and getting the final approval.
Any questions? No. Counselor Casey?
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
What say you, board?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the purchase of the 2015 Elgin Pelican sweeper.
Second.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Not, roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item?
The next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of correction to the water treatment plant sewer bill. And we have Ms. Philberry. Good evening.
Ms.
Good
Belgrade.
evening. Good evening.
Mayor, councilors, Madam Manager. I'm here today to request approval for a sewer billing correction for the water treatment plant. The water treatment plant produces a lot of production water in the process, and it ends up being sent to the wastewater plant for treatment through the normal process of the sewer system. Found out about 2 years ago that the water treatment plant was not being invoiced for this. So we started charging. The water treatment plant has its own meter, that meters how much is sent to the wastewater treatment plant. So we were using that as the method of calculating. This year in late August, early September, was brought to my attention that there was a concern with that meter, and so I had staff take a look at it. That meter, it's unique because of the quantity of flow, which can be anywhere from 100 gallons per minute to 500 or more gallons per minute. It is programmable. It had been programmed at 500 gallons per minute, but at our current capacity with our pumps, the maximum is between 200 and 250. So it was over-calculating the amount of water that was being sent to the wastewater plant. When this was brought to my attention, I have an alternate meter that calculates how much backwash water, which is the majority of water, goes through the process. So I use that as a number to kind of verify if there was a discrepancy, and I was able to confirm there was a discrepancy. It's not 100% accurate, but I was able to confirm that the water treatment plant was being overcharged for sewer. Based on that, I directed my staff to to look at the billing and change the amounts, and I believe you may have these in your package. These are the invoices. So I personally went through each invoice and verified whether it was an accurate number or an inaccurate number, and then again used the alternate meter as a balance. I was in error. There's a resolution that says anything over 50,000 I needed to bring to council, and I did not bring it to council. So there has been no money transferred. The only thing that has been done up until now was a change in the invoices. The balance of the money is still with the wastewater treatment plant, and I would actually prefer to just leave it there, and as the water treatment plant continues to send their bills, they're just basically whittling down on a credit. So my request to the council is to approve that correction, and I don't know if this is going to be appropriate. What I submitted was for $64,884.47, and when I went back through this one more time, I found one more error. So I'm requesting, at minimum, to be able to make that $64,884.47 credit. And then an additional request would be to add this, there's a September bill with a $13,000 credit. We were able to have the meter reprogrammed. It is reading more accurately, still not 100% accurate, and my staff are directed to look for a meter that will document the amount of water going to the wastewater treatment plant more accurately. I stand for questions.
Any questions?
Yes, how come it took so long to find that problem? If you're just talking maybe 3-4 months ago.
The issue was found when the Sauter-Miller staff brought it to my attention because...
And how long ago was that?
It was brought to my attention in roughly August of 2019.
So your employees didn't find out?
They didn't recognize that as being an error because the meter was, they were taking the meter reads and providing the meter reads as they had them. They didn't understand that the meter reads were actually incorrect.
So you didn't compare it to like the following 4, 5, 6 months before that?
It's not something normally that I look at my staff, much like with regular water bills, they come in, that's what we charge unless the customer says something, and water treatment plant did not say anything, so we didn't dig deeper until the customer of water treatment plant brought it to.
So we didn't charge our customers that much, did you?
No, so this is a different meter than this is a totally different meter. This is an industrial meter. It's not something we have with any other customers.
Thank you.
Councilor Romero? Okay, I have one question on the agenda request item. It says this item will be discussed January 13, 2020, regular meeting of the Utility Advisory Committee. I wasn't aware that was even happening.
Yes, Councilor, I apologize. I was going to make that statement. We do have a Utility Advisory Committee every once a month, and this was brought to the Advisory Committee, and they recommended approval.
And if you can, for public record, who are the committee members from the community?
Mike Martinez, Mike Cousins, Rudy Castellano, Meredith Britt, and I believe I have one more Mike, and I don't remember his last name.
And has that routinely been happening?
Yes, Counselor, we've been meeting every month. I think we missed 1 month because some of the attendees wanted to go to a county meeting instead of the city meeting, but.
And my next question would be to Ms. Cardona, the legalities of this building correction, is everything okay?
Yes, there is a resolution that provides that an error like this has to come before council if it's over 50,000. And that's attached.
Thank you. Council Casey?
No questions?
No questions.
If I might, there are two numbers, and that's where I would want clarification from the council. If the number that I had prior to this meeting, which was $64,884.47, which is in the agenda, or if there's anything I can do with that additional $13,000 that I found.
So we need an amendment to this to add that 13,000?
I would have to defer if I missed one of the calculations. Should I do that at a future date because it's a separate one?
I believe so.
Okay, so
Because it's
I'll
not
stick with
listed
this
here.
one, and then I'll bring this one to the attention of the city manager.
Because it's not listed here.
Correct.
Yes.
All right, we need a motion from the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the resolution 12-06 to require the city manager and the finance director to make adjustments to utility bills in the amount of $64,884.47.
Need a second?
Second.
Any more discussions on that? Any more discussions?
No, sir.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Romero?
Yes, but I'd like to just make the point that I hope this doesn't happen again.
I concur, Councilor.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
That concludes our
you,
business
Maria.
items. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the next item on the agenda is councilors' reports.
Councilor Ulibarri?
I don't have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Romero?
I guess Ms. Gallegos, if we could, and I know, we have Ms. Encinias come here before us tonight to just, the potholes, and I know, our guys are busy, but can we address not only these ones, but, the most visible ones as quickly as possible? And I know, previously we've asked, if you could dedicate, and I know our staff is shorthanded, but,
Actually, let me, is Christie here? Christie, you want to address potholes tonight? I know we talked a little bit about asphalt versus what he has to use, utilize, the materials he's utilizing at this point, but I'll defer that to Mr. Olarte.
Mayor, councilors, with the weather, the way it is, it's hard to get hot mix. Now, hot plants go around for like 6 months. We won't get hot mix till probably May. We're using what they call a QPM. It's a quick patch material, and we're having to go all the way to Albuquerque to get some. And that's just like a Band-Aid. And when we can't get that, we're using millings, and we'll roll it, and just to keep it from breaking up worse and worse. So that's what we've been using.
so I just because I know that they're gonna be doing our DOT's doing the, driveways there, and I think on Tuesday, so I don't know if it's the same company that they get.
I believe that's coming out of Albuquerque, and I think they have a contract with DOT. So.
And then that QPM,
QPM
do we have enough? I mean,
well, they got plenty. It's just the process of getting it now. Takes a little bit of time. I did pothole patching yesterday, and I went through 27 bags, and I only did maybe 3 rolls. Because it's only 50-pound bags.
so do we need more of that, or?
Oh yeah, we can buy it by the bulk, but if you don't use it right away, the oil and the QPM just saturates down, and then we have to keep it in a warm room, and it has to be warm to be able to and not it turns into a rock.
We'll continue to work on it and, I'm sorry.
Chris, I know that you're buying bags, but that's really costly. The bags are
Yeah, that's all.
expensive.
Yeah.
You know, we did some road work when I was 15 years ago, and we were doing asphalt. Can't you buy like a belly dump, like, you know, a small, like 10-yarder, and maybe bring it in one day and maybe take care of maybe 50% of the potholes? I don't know if you could do that, because, you know, but you have to really schedule your employees and maybe get to the streets that need them more instead of using bags. You know, bags are really costly. They're real costly. But if you could work something out that you could bring a small truck,
but
like a 10-yarder or something like that, and
I see what you're saying. It's just, this is gonna be a Band-Aid still, no, because of the weather. It's like, the roads I patched yesterday, we're gonna have a snowstorm coming in tonight. We're expecting 7 inches. Here we go again, we're gonna go plow. It's gonna come right out. We're looking at 40 to 50-year-old roads that have been here in Vegas.
but look at this. Look at the complaints we're getting. You know, we're talking about May. We still have American May. They're gonna start calling us.
Yeah, I get calls.
You understand where I'm coming from?
Every day.
I'm just saying to kind of maybe solve something that maybe you could work on. I don't know if you can or not. But, you know, people are calling us left and right about potholes, you know.
Yeah,
And I understand that you're doing a good job on it, but, you know, they're just frustrated.
Yeah.
You know. But do your best. You know.
Okay. And I guess this, if I remember correctly, that, Danny, that truck that we would get would actually store some of that material, right? For some.
You could store it for a day or two, and then you could just plug it in and rewarm it as what it says.
So that,
We gotta get
that's
help on
something
that.
that I think we need to really try to
Well,
get.
but don't forget, the one issue with the machine is, because we talked a little bit about it, the asphalt, you can't get asphalt during a certain period of time, am I
Right.
correct? I'm just
Yeah.
deferring the
But if
question.
it's a newer truck, I think that truck can make the run to Albuquerque, can it, or no?
The truck that we're seeing, I believe it only holds 3.5 yards.
How many?
3.5 yards.
That's not even worth it.
That's
Yeah,
like
you'd have to
buying
go to bigger one.
2 pallets of QPM.
It's like buying bags.
Right. So
Maybe
you're gonna have to look at
I
something
think
bigger.
there's got to be a different solution to that, because, you know, we know that we have problems with potholes, and that's, every few months I call you, I call the city manager, you know, they keep on bringing us back to all the councilmen, you know, it's a very hard thing to do, because they're doing their best. I'm trying to make them happy, and it's hard, it's very hard, but, you know, maybe we gotta look at something different, I don't know, maybe you guys gotta get together with our city manager or whoever and see what other solution we could do. We could take care of that.
What are the other communities doing region-wide when it's winter time? I mean, they're fixing their
Our
roads.
DOT and our district does the same thing I do. They buy that QPM and they patch their potholes like that.
Okay. Are you saying that we don't have enough staff also to take care of all the
We have
potholes?
we have the staff, it's just, it's hard to keep up with, you know. I deal with every department, I deal with streets, I deal with parks, I deal with arroyos, I deal with buildings. You know what I mean? I'm
It's everywhere.
everywhere.
But you're overextended.
Yeah.
So,
You know, my department was just to concentrate on streets, I guarantee your streets won't be like this.
so why don't we do that? Why don't we have someone to just concentrate on streets?
Oh my God.
I mean, Mr. Duarte just said that. If he's overextended, then, you know, if we can relieve him in other duties to just concentrate on streets, or assign another person to just do streets, and spend the money to get the equipment and also the resources, the materials, to get it done. I mean, we have to, if we have to look at our budget to do it, then we need to do that. Counselor? Rivera?
Now that DOT's doing all the paving, it's gotta be 40 degrees and higher, right?
48 and rising. Where's the stick?
Because I've seen him
I seen him falling in the rain.
I done road work, and I seen him, when we were doing it, it was 40, and they would start at 40 degrees, and they're telling me that the temperature's gotta be 40 and up, no?
Okay, yeah, it has to be 48 and rising. But remember, they're bringing material from Albuquerque. It's probably leaving the plant at 300 degrees, and then when it gets here, it's probably dropped down to like 220. But then they feed it into a hot plant, to a day-dome machine that has heaters and everything that keeps warming it up again.
The day-dome machines?
Yeah, day-dome machines have burners. When you dump into it, it has burners, and it keeps it warm temperature again.
I'm not sure about that, but I'll check into that.
So it seems like Christie needs help in regards to get the job done. I mean, if he's overextended, we need to get together and really take a look at what we can do. Look at our budget, get somewhere in the budget, we can find some help for him.
Absolutely. And you know what we'll do, I'll sit down with him tomorrow morning, see how many staff members he needs for this type of operation to keep it going on a continuous basis, and then we'll make that happen, and then we'll shift all of the other areas that he needs to do to someone else. And we can do that. And I know we're having a meeting as well with the staff.
Good.
And yourself.
So let's see if we can get her done in quick time.
Okay.
Thanks.
May I do my counselor comment?
I'm still on mine.
Oh, you're still on yours?
You're still
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
The next part is code enforcement. I know we're short a couple of steps, but
We had interviews today, sir.
so about how long are we expecting for? Or just 2 weeks?
It'll be the next cycle.
Right.
We'll, as soon as you turn in your recommendations, and we'll move forward.
That's it for now.
Okay. Councilor Casey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make my counselor comment as a point of personal privilege. And I think a lot of you have been in this room when people from the community have come before the council during public input and made disparaging remarks about me and other counselors. And I just want to remind people that we do have laws about slander and libel. Slander is the action of making a false spoken statement that is damaging to a person's reputation. And libel is a published false statement that is damaging to a person's reputation, and it's a written defamation. Recently, in the Optic, Mr. Emilio Aragon wrote a letter which contains many false statements. Yes, I did file suit against the West Las Vegas School District when they refused to pay me the same amount of money for being superintendent as they had paid the previous superintendent, who was male, before I started in that position. They lost. They admitted that they had discriminated against me because I was female. I have never filed suit against any other school district or any place else where I have worked. Further, Mr. Aragon stated that I had filed suit against the Logan School District. I don't even know where Logan is. I have never been to Logan. I have never worked at Logan. And so I'm hoping that people will take into consideration that not everything that they read in the paper is true simply because someone writes a letter and says things just because. And so it's frustrating to me to hear people come before the council, and I'm hoping that, I know that that Mayor Howell will not allow that kind of disparaging language to take place, because it is a violation of our ordinance for public input. And so I know that that will not occur while he is sitting there as mayor. And just a reminder to people that when you come up for public input, you are not supposed to talk about a person using their name, and you are not supposed to make statements which are not true. If you make a statement, you better back it up with documentation that shows that what you're saying is actually a fact. And so, just to set the record straight, many of the things that have been written in letters to the editor about my work experience and the work that I did in the legislature have been basically fabrications from these people's minds. And I also took great offense with the fact that it was suggested that I somehow had the district judge who denied the motion that the former mayor's attorney made in the recent court hearing, that I had him under my spell. And I just don't see myself as being a ravishing beauty that is just going to, cause everyone to be awestruck when I walk into a room. And so it's ridiculous because you're all laughing. Of course it is ridiculous. And so I want to let people know that, some things are just utterly ridiculous and untrue. And so thank you very much for allowing me to have my point of personal privilege, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Casey. Councilor Unibreak?
No comments, sir.
No comments.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can't speak that way. I just have one comment. We lost Skip a while back, and I understand that some of the community members have considered putting a bench in honor of Skip at the Plaza Park.
Yes.
Could you tell me the status of that?
We are awaiting a letter from, I believe it's Sarah Matthews, and then we'll take that to Design Review Board and let them review it and then follow the process. And I believe it's also, I'm not sure, but I believe it's also brought to Mayor and Council, or we can bring it to Mayor and Council if you so desire.
Okay, and we do have the funds for it already?
We're not paying for it. There have been funds that have been donated.
Right.
Yes, sir.
But the funds are there. We just have to.
I would assume that they're there. They're not in our custody.
I see. Okay. Could you really follow up on that so we can? Do we need to call Sarah?
She knew. Maria Perea had already talked to her. We talked about this on Monday.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So we're just waiting for the letter, and then we'll schedule a design review board to review it.
Okay. Good.
Yes.
And also lights throughout our community. Can we direct the PD to, when they're out and about, to see if the lights are not working properly? And also, if they are not working properly, could we mark the poles so we can direct, once we give Mr. Christie some help, to go out there and take care of those lights? Because I know that P&M sometimes, some lights are owned by P&M.
Right.
And some on ours. So we need to identify which lights we're responsible for so we can get them taken care of, and then give a listing to P&M or DOT, whoever is managing those lights.
Okay.
Because there's too many problems of that.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We can do that, Mr. Mayor.
Any other discussion?
That concludes our counselors' reports. The next item on the agenda is executive session.
Do we have any
Counselor-
need for exec?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we do under item B.
Mr. Mayor?
Good, yes.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we go into executive session for matters subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the city of Las Vegas is or may become a participant as permitted by Section 10-15-1, H7 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, and also for personnel matters as permitted by Section 10-15-1, H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978. And I request that in executive session that we address the pending litigation first, and then for the personnel issues, I would request that only the counselors and the mayor be present, and that city manager and city attorney be called in as necessary.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion, any other discussions?
No, sir.
If not, roll call?
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Are the parties here for the,
I believe they are.
Yeah.
They're talking with the assessor guys.
okay, all right. Thank you, everyone. We're going to go into executive session currently.